It's Powerback time on the Gutsy Podcast, your 20-minute boost to reclaim and refocus your energy. Get ready to have bursts of clarity, a boost of confidence, and the practical steps you need to make gutsy moves forward. You've got big things to do, so let's get your power back. You ever left a situation and you get back to your car or your office and you're like, who was I? That's not who I am. That's not how I talk. I don't even like how these clothes look on me. It's a harsh realization when you realize I am conforming to fit in. I'm minimizing who I am to not draw attention, and I am diluting myself to meet the expectations of others. Not only does this take a tremendous amount of thought and energy, it attracts the wrong people and opportunities. Why? Because we are exuding a version of ourselves that isn't even real. Our default when we're feeling uncertain, afraid, or even vulnerable is to pull back and dilute who we really are. Except you just found the Gutsy Podcast, and today I'm going to help you identify where you're holding back so that you can create safety within your body so you can free yourself to be more you. I want to start this out by saying that every single person on the planet has either done this or is currently doing this. There are so many societal expectations around the world that put this pressure on you to be something that you're not in order to fit in. And the whole concept behind fitting in comes from a primal instinct of wanting to belong, to being part of a community, being accepted and welcomed by others. So it's a primal instinct. It's something that we have been instilled with for centuries. So there's nothing wrong with you. Okay, I want to start this off by saying there is nothing wrong with you. It is literally in your DNA. So how do we get beyond this then is the question. How do we feel safe and comfortable being ourselves in all circumstances and situations? It really begins with creating and harnessing that sense of safety within ourselves, the self-acceptance, the rewiring of our own system to say, hey, I like who I am. When I am most myself, I attract the best opportunities. I attract the right friend group. I get the right job. I pull in the right clients. See, one of the misconceptions is like you have to become something else to get the things that you want. And it could not be further from the truth. Because when you put yourself out there as something that you're not, you are attracting things and people and opportunities that are attracted to that version of you. This is the version of you that you have curated. You change your voice, you change the way your personality comes out, you change the way that you dress and the way that you approach situations. And don't get me wrong, there are different variations of you, okay? Like work you probably shows up pretty differently than Friday night you, okay? Like those are two different versions of yourself, but they are both you. I often use my reference of sweatpants to ball gown. And while yes, that has a lot to do with the visuals of you, how you show up and how you dress, it also comes into how you show up emotionally, how you speak, how your personality shines. But the goal here is to understand who you are in every part of your own scale. The problem comes into play when you start trying to be on somebody else's scale. Their scale is not more refined or better than yours. It's just theirs. I mean, I'm sure that you have worked with somebody that has like a big personality, or maybe they are just funny in every situation. If that doesn't come naturally to you, you don't need to conform to who they are to be accepted in the same way that they are. Or maybe you have that one friend that is just insanely fucking organized. Like, you know, if there is a trip to plan or an afternoon to put together or some kind of Sunday afternoon brunch situation, that person is going to be fucking on it. They're going to have all the details. It's going to be lined up. They eat that shit up. If those are not your characteristics, if that's not who you are, you don't need to become who that person is to be accepted the same way that that person is. That's the beauty in diversity, is that we all bring different characteristics. We all bring different skills and abilities. We all have different personalities, and they work in the right situations for the right people. And one of the coolest things about being who you truly are is that people start to recognize you for those skills and abilities. They are drawn to your personality for a reason. They love that you're organized. They love that you're the funny person. They love that you are the one that they can rely on to call them out on their bullshit. Hello, that is me. But when we're hiding those parts of ourselves, when you're trying to be something that you're not, those gifts and abilities just are compressed. They are hidden. You're conforming to fit in. You're minimizing who you are to not draw attention to yourself, to stay small, to stay irrelevant. You end up diluting yourself, your personality, your natural skills and abilities to meet the expectations of others, to be accepted by other people the way that someone else is. But friend, that shit is not working. I'm telling you, it might feel like it works in the moment, but it takes a tremendous amount of thought and energy to be something that you're not, to put on this facade. And then maybe the worst part about all of that is maintaining it. This is an ongoing problem. If you're showing up to work a certain way, now you always have to be that way. If you're putting content out for your business in a certain tone, now you have to maintain that tone because that's what people are used to. If you're in a friend circle and you have just this certain personality that you pull out just for them, and I'm not saying the Freebird one, I'm saying the one where you have conformed and molded it so that they like you, maintaining that is exhausting. And look, it's a very real primal instinct. I want to fit in. I want to be accepted. But you know where that has to begin? It has to start inside of you. Because otherwise you are just waxing and waning. You are just flying with the wind and becoming whatever situation that you're in. You are a chameleon. Who are you? Like maybe that's where we need to begin. What is your real personality? What is your actual tone of voice? Who are you when no one else is looking? Look, our default when we are uncertain about something, when you are scared or have fear just punching you in the face, you're feeling vulnerable or exposed, the natural go-to is to pull back, is to conform, is to be that chameleon. It takes gutsy to be yourself. Being yourself is a gutsy move, period. I wish it didn't have to be that way. I wish it was just widely accepted, but turns out that's not the thing. Except we all have the opportunity to change that, don't we? We all have the opportunity to create that safety within ourselves. And that's what I want to dig into today, is to really identify where you're holding back so that you can fucking free yourself. I mean, there's just so much energetic capacity, so much time that you will gain back mentally, how much you think about this, and physically how much energy it takes to change your voice and talk a little bit higher so that we're always in this. Or having that weird laugh that you do when you're with this one certain group of friends because it feels like that's the right thing. I'm telling you, energy sucker. If you are tired all the time, this is one of the very, very minimal but also huge ways that you can regain your time and your energy back. Let me take you down memory lane here for a second and give you an example of this. Way back in the day, back in 2007, when I started my first business in branding, I had no idea what it meant to be a businesswoman. Okay. Like we didn't have Google. Okay. We did Ask Jeeves. There was no social media. Facebook at the time was still used for college situations. So it was not widely used yet for businesses. So there was just not the social influence in what people were doing and how they looked back then, which has its perks. Don't get me wrong, because the comparison factor was not what it is today. The downfall to that, though, was that I only knew what I knew, and that was the references that were in front of me. So I'm like, what does a professional businesswoman look like? Okay. Like if I'm going to go to business meetings, if I'm going to go to networking groups and I'm going to meet people, like what do I need to be? So through a little Ask Jeeves and going to networking events, being at a few business events, I realized that, hey, successful business women looked a certain way. They wore suits, they had their hair pulled back, they had like leather padfolios, they had heels on, they wore pantyhose, like they just had this very crisp look about them. And so my very young and very naive self was like, okay, if I want to be a successful businesswoman, that's what I need to look like. And that's how I need to show up. So I went to Walmart and I purchased what I call the maroon suit. If you're an OG, if you've been around here for a long ass time, you may have heard this story before. My gosh, I think somewhere in the first 10 episodes of the Gutsy podcast, if you want to take a little trip backwards in time, I did an entire episode on the maroon suit. This is what I purchased, okay? I went to Walmart, I got a maroon suit, and it was a maroon blazer and a maroon pencil skirt. I purchased a white blouse, some pantyhose, and probably some kind of black heel. And I felt like $1 million walking out of that store. I'm like, this is it, right? This is what successful women look like. This is how I'm going to get it. This is how I'm going to grow my business. I'm a real business owner now. So every time that I had a meeting or I needed to go to a networking meeting, I pulled my hair back in this tight, slicked back ponytail or bun. I put on my maroon suit. I grabbed my pad folio that I went to Staples and purchased, and I went to my meetings. And for the first couple, it was empowering, it was exciting, it was new, and then it started to shift, okay? Probably after the 5th or 6th time of doing this, I was like, I don't fucking like this. First of all, pantyhose are the devil, period. Fight me in the streets on that. They suck ass. Second, I don't even like the color maroon. Like, it's literally my least favorite color on the color spectrum. No shame to the color maroon. I just don't care for it. I didn't like how the skirt felt. I started to not like how it looked on me. And oh, by the way, I also forgot to mention that every time I put on this fucking suit, I took out my nose ring because professional women did not have facial piercings. I started to notice that every time I was done with one of these meetings and I got back to my house because I worked at home, was the very first thing that I did was I ripped off this suit. I mean, sometimes I wasn't even fully in the door before I was taking off the blazer and unsnapping my freaking bra. This went on for, gosh, I don't know, months, maybe the better part of a year, until I realized like, hey, this isn't who I am. I'm trying to match someone else's version of success. I'm trying to mimic what everyone else is doing, but that's not working for me. And maybe it's working for them, but dare I say it was probably not working for many of them as well. And slowly over time, I started to shift the way that I showed up to meetings. Instead of slicking back my hair, I left it down. Instead of taking out my nose ring, I left it in. Instead of putting on this fucking maroon suit, I would wear what I called at the time was like creative casual or creative business owner, which was a t-shirt and a blazer and jeans and some kind of sneaker or high heel. And I found that the more that I did that, the better I felt. I was more comfortable. I was more confident. I wanted to show up. I was more focused in the situations that I was in. And one of the best parts, I started to attract the right situations. Like the right kinds of clients were coming in because they're like, hey, you look cool. I like your vibe. Can we be friends? And it didn't take long to realize that when I was all dolled up in my professional gal suit, that I was attracting these kind of dry, stuffy, unexciting projects. But when I was being myself in my creative casual atmosphere, I was attracting things that were fun and interesting and exciting. The relationships had more depth. There was more trust and creativity. And from that season forward, I never looked back. I mean, I can remember so distinctly how much time and energy it took to be that different part of me. I don't have that kind of time. You don't have that kind of time. And I didn't just flip a switch, okay? I had to create safety within my body. I would maybe wear the suit a few times, but I left in the nose ring, okay? Like it's a little bit of exposure. I started to experiment with my clothing in different situations, in different rooms. I started to allow my voice to come out a little bit more naturally. And what started to create that safety within myself was noticing how I felt, noticing how people reacted and worked with me differently. Now listen, I am not everybody's cup of tea. Okay, that's fine. I don't need people that don't like tea. But what I do need is me. Because if I'm not me, who am I? I'm trying to be something, someone else, showing up in situations that I don't want to be in. This has been a consistent evolving theme. When I started the podcast, if you listen back to episodes like 1 through 20, my voice is way higher. My tone is more polished. In especially the first handful of episodes, I'm literally reading my own script. I started to notice, like, where do I not feel good about myself? And where do I feel alive? Where do I feel most authentic? Where do I feel the most ease? And it's when I just take this fucking filter off. I mean, filters in general are a way of conforming. But I noticed that every time that I lowered my voice, I used my natural tone, I use my cuss words as glitter, as I do. I say the real thing, the hard thing, the shit that we're all thinking, feeling, and experiencing. Guess what happens? Not only do I feel better, but so do you. And I know that because I've heard from many of you. And this is the most magical thing that happens. When you truly allow yourself to be yourself, again, your scale, not only do you start to feel better, you also empower people around you to be more themselves too. It's like you become this beacon that gives people the permission that they don't need, but need to hear. The example that they need to see visually with their eyes, the energy that they need to feel physically within their body. You got to remember that not everybody has positive role models in their life, or maybe they've just never been exposed to an alternative. You being you allows other people to be them. And what happens when we are all just more ourselves? My gosh, the energy of the planet raises. People are happier and healthier. Mentally, we are so much more clear. It takes so much less energy. You don't have to think about the performance. You don't have to mold and shift and spend so much time picking out things that don't belong to you. You attract the right opportunities and people, the right friend groups, the right spouse, the right clients, the right next job. People are going to hire you or work with you or be friends with you because of you, not because of a facade that you've given them. And I'm telling you, I can promise you that the more you do this, the more that you realize you have this capacity back within yourself, you're going to want to do it more. So where do we start with this? Okay. You know, I'm all about the how. Well, we've got to start with the awareness. The first thing is not necessarily to change anything, but to notice things. Where are you, or when are you, or who are you with when you feel your most yourself? What are those characteristics of yourself that you really just love to embody? How do you talk differently? How do you act different? How do you dress in these moments? And what's creating that safety within you? Is it the people that you're with? The atmosphere that you're in? The reason I'm having you start with this piece is because if you can notice what it feels like in your natural state, then we can start to notice what it feels like when we're not. This is your safety zone, right? This is when you're with your best friends, when you're at home, when you're just at your favorite place that you love to go to. Like, this is just you being you. The mask is off. The real you is out in the world, and things just are better and easier because of it. A lot of times we don't even realize what those parts of ourselves are, which again is why I'm having you start with that. Really dig into, when do I feel my best? When do I feel my most self? When am I the calmest? When do I feel my most expressive? And what's going on around me? What's going on within me? This is going to give you context. Okay. If that's your truest self, then you can start to notice when you shift those parts of yourself in different circumstances and situations. So the next piece is to break this down just into very bite-sized pieces. Is I want you to name one to three characteristics of yourself that mean the most to you. These are the things that you're like, this is really important to me. This is really who I am. I want this to exude in all areas of my life and career. I'll give you an example. 3 of mine are: first, my natural tone. Am I talking like myself? Am I keeping my naturally lower tone and voice? Am I using my colorful language the way that I do? Am I being open and vulnerable? Am I being funny? That's me. Okay, this is important to me to maintain in all areas of my life. Do I shift a little bit? Sometimes, yes. For instance, when I'm doing a keynote talk for a Fortune 500 company, I tone down the cussing a little bit. Okay, I'm not just dropping F-bombs all over the place. In my space, in my podcast, and in my world, fair game. But I also understand and respect that in different situations, that might not be widely accepted. So I tone it back a little bit. Again, I'm still on my scale. Another one for me is being goofy. I am ridiculous. Okay. And the more I can just pull all that layer off and be my ridiculous, silly, just call it for what it is, goofy self, when that part of me is out, like, we're in. Okay, we are locked in together. You've got my fullest self possible. And the other one, and it ties back to the maroon suit, is the way that I look. My attire, the clothing that I'm wearing. I have gone through, oh my God, so many variations of trying to figure out what my style is. And I've not yet nailed it, but I think I'm a little bit closer for this season of my life. I'll be honest with you. I found a really great pair of jeans from Kohl's that I fucking love and I feel really great in. And every time I wear them out, I get compliments. So I feel like I might be onto something here. But the point is, like, am I comfortable? Do I feel confident? Am I radiating energy? Is my aura expanding? All of those things matter to me because if I'm not worrying about what I'm wearing or how it's touching my skin or if it's too tight or this fucking pencil skirt needs to go to the bonfire, then I can focus. I can just simply be me. So those are 3 characteristics of myself that are really important. And it gives me an indicator then to go into the next step, which is to notice when I'm holding back. When am I out of alignment with myself? When am I diluting myself? I went to a speaking gig in New York City a couple of months ago, and I was just all up in my head about what to wear because it's New York City. And I tried a few things. I didn't love it. I saw something on Pinterest. I tried it on at home and I liked it, but there was a voice in me that was like, Laura, that's not the one. You should probably go with the black jumpsuit. But I was like, no, this is New York. I'm going to try this. I need to up it up a little bit. I fucking hated it. The fabric was not right. Everything was too baggy. The shirt had to be tucked in a certain way for it to do what I wanted it to do. So I was picking at it and poking at it the whole time. And I was conscious about it. So the whole time I'm giving this talk, I'm also thinking about, is the shirt laying the way that I want it to? No. Okay. We're not doing that again. All it took was one time of being out of alignment physically with my clothing for me to realize this isn't it. And this is why I have you coin in on 1 to 3 things that are very important to you, because now you can start to notice when it feels off. Now you can recognize, oh, I'm trying to do that thing again. I'm diluting myself. I'm changing myself. I'm being a chameleon. So you know what I did the next time I had a speaking event? I wore something that was so clean. It was so simple. I didn't think about it at all. I got a shit ton of compliments and I felt confident. Like, period. That's what I'm talking about. And then the way that you create the safety is by making those small adjustments. You don't have to be completely vulnerable or exposed if you're not ready to, but you can notice when you're changing your voice and shift it back to you. You can notice when you're wearing something that's uncomfortable or doesn't feel like you, and you can adjust your wardrobe. You can notice when you're shifting your personality to become what everyone else is doing, and you can pull it back to be who you really are. The way that you create safety is by exposure, by noticing what's not you and making small micro movements and sometimes big ones to make the shift to be more yourself, to show you that it's okay to be me, that people will love and accept me for who I am. But more importantly, I can love and accept me for who I am. It's easier to be yourself, especially when you show yourself that it's okay. And if you ever doubt it, think of this conversation. Heck, think of me, not because I'm trying to take up all your damn brain space, but why are you here listening to this? I'm sure that the conversation and the topic was of interest, but I'm going to guess that if you're listening to this podcast, you probably also follow me in other places. Maybe you found me on TikTok. Maybe you came across one of my reels. Maybe you heard me on somebody else's podcast or stage. There was something about me that drew you in. My natural tone, the way that I call things for what they are, the way that I sound different in the professional workspace. There was an element of my personality, my tone, or my message that got your attention. And not because it's some fake ass thing, but because it's me. It's my energy. It's my aura. So think of that impact. Think of how this podcast or a message that I've shared with you or a coaching session that you and I have done together or a live class that we've done inside the Gutsy Collective. Think of how something that I have said or done with you has changed something in your life. That's pretty cool, isn't it? And that creates safety within my body to know that. This is the power of you. Okay? This is what you do for other people. You do it for yourself first, and then you just exude this natural talent, personality, tone, message, abilities that improves the people's lives around you. And I'll also add in there the right people around you, because you're not going to be right for everybody either. And that's okay too. All right, to wrap it up here, let's take these 3 steps. First, noticing when you feel your most self. 2, naming 1 to 3 characteristics of yourself that are non-negotiable. This is who you are and it's who you want to be. And then 3, notice when you are shifting, molding, or adjusting these things to be something for someone else. Make the conscious decision to shift it in the moment or consciously choose to shift it for the next time. When you do this over and over again in all these little micro areas, I can promise you that you're going to start to feel more like yourself. And that, my friend, is a great fucking thing. One favor to ask of you as we wrap up today, if you've not yet already, I would big puffy heart love and appreciate if you could leave a review of the Gutsy podcast, whether you listen to it on Apple or Spotify or Amazon Music, wherever you're tuning in. If you would be so gracious to leave a review, it helps other women like you know what the show's about, what they can expect from it, and what they're getting themselves into, because you and I both know when you step into my world, some gutsy moves start to happen. Hey, listen, I am at that LauraAura on all social channels. You can come find me and watch my TikToks and Reels using at that LauraAura. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.